Welcome to the Trudy Lite Show with your host, international celebrity life coach to the stars, Trudy Lite.
Hi boys and girls. I've had an email from Dr. Bob in Cardiff, who's an immunologist.
Dear Trudy, my question isn't to do with love or sex.
Oh?
I've watched all your shows and it's clear that you have incredible insight into human nature.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Bob.
Medical science proves that most people wouldn't be alive today if it wasn't for vaccinations. So tell me, Trudy, why did some people refuse their children the MMR vaccine?
Well, Dr. Bob, I've thought long and hard about why people are so easily taken in by New Age anti-science thinking, and I've figured it out. You see, people were sick and tired of being told what they ought to do by the government. You ought to stop smoking. You ought to practice safe sex. You ought to be vaccinated. This is what's known as autism, and it came to a head with the MMR jab. Talking of head reminds me of my best friend Dita, who says she's had enough little pricks to last her a lifetime. More importantly, each of us has a responsibility to society to be immunised. It's pure selfishness not to, and it helps in our relationship with others. It's the diplomatic thing to do. You've heard of diplomatic immunity. That's what I'm talking about. The infamous, disgraced Dr. Andrew Wakefield claimed that proponents of the MMR jab were blinding people with science. Better than being blinded by the measles, I'd have thought. Now, some of my millions of viewers all over the world and elsewhere may not know what the MMR vaccine is. Well, it stands for measles, mumps and ribena. When they say ribena, don't take it literally. It immunises against all high-sugar fruit-based cordials, preventing tooth decay, diabetes and obesity. One thing it doesn't prevent, though, is headaches, which is the reason for John emailing me from Eton, the one in England. The Eton in Canada is a cathedral city, and it was Cathedral City who gave me their wonderful Big Cheese Award for Best International Celebrity Life Coach to the Stars.
I'm one of those chaps who gets blinding headaches when I have an organism. It's apparently because I put a lot of effort into it, and it raises my blood pressure. The pain is so great, it's pushing me off sex.
Experimenting with various organisms. Well, we've all done that, haven't we? Now I can see there's the slightest possibility John might have meant orgasms, which are altogether different. Well, usually. If that's the case, then it isn't all that complicated. Keep the orgasms and keep the headaches, or try celibacy and a pain-free head. Or you could try paracetamol. Did you consider that? No, of course you didn't. You've been too busy working yourself into headache-inducing frenzies with your little organism friends, haven't you? My best friend Dita is always complaining of headaches whenever I invite her somewhere. But they seem to clear up pretty quickly, as I often see her out later on with someone else. Perhaps she has the same problem. How about getting a kitten to lower your blood pressure? A cute, fluffy little kitten with tickly whiskers and paddy paws. Oh, where was I? Oh, yes. Another thing to remember, it's not effort that counts, it's technique. Imagine you're flying a plane. All the effort in the world isn't going to land that thing. Actually, don't think about flying a plane. Think about your girlfriend or your kitten. And after all that, some of my millions of viewers all over the world and elsewhere believe there's more to life than sex. For example, compassion and kindness, literature, opera, nature, or just take the paracetamol and get back on the job. Still on the subject of health, my next email is from Adrian, who's writing from Birmingham, England's second city. They say Birmingham has more miles of canals than Venice, though far fewer gondoliers, but many more shopping trolleys. Venice has the Biennale and the Lido, whereas Birmingham has the Bull Ring and Edgbaston Cricket Ground, so it all evens out in the end. Adrian writes,
Trudy, I'm confused. Every day I read the paper and they're telling me one thing or another causes or prevents cancer. Now, I may not be too bright.
Really, Adrian?
But I don't know what to believe. Ta-da a bit.
Well, you're right. There's a certain class of newspaper, or more accurately, papers with no class at all, that carry daily stories about things which supposedly cause cancer. Tomatoes, mirrors, corduroy, polonium-210. They've all been blamed for causing cancer at one time or another, or praised for preventing it. It depends which paper you read. They come thick and fast like Lewis Hamilton, but you mustn't believe a word of it. Now, I know doctors study these things for 6 years or so, but I found the answer through 10 minutes of in-depth research. Through Wikipedia files, actually. At first I was a bit worried from the name that it was a different type of website altogether, and I very nearly didn't take a chance. Oh, and on that subject, let me give you a little tip. If the police turn up just before dawn and start talking about Operation U-Tree, they probably won't be interested in your views on arboriculture and pollarding. That was my mistake. But back to my research. I discovered that what mostly causes cancer is unregulated cell growth. I have a few girlfriends in Holloway and other prisons who wouldn't mind that too much. Cell growth, that is. But your best bet is to go easy on the polonium-210. In fact, steer clear of all kinds of German sausage, as I'm always telling my best friend Dieter. She loves nothing better than getting some wiener inside her. Oh, and spend less time reading trashy tabloids like the Daily Mail. Talking of the mail, this morning I actually received a letter. Snail mail, they call it these days. Thankfully our posties have legs, or there'd be trails of slime everywhere. This snail mail is from Nick.
Trudy, I was feeling poorly, so my doctor sent me for tests. They show I'm allergic to gluten, lactose, egg, soya, and anything else with an F in it. The only things I can safely eat are cucumber and wood. Help me.
Pop into a supermarket and buy a bottle of Mouton Cadet. You'll most likely be right as rain. Unless you're allergic to alcohol, that is. Or rain. The trouble is, everyone's allergic to something these days. If it isn't gluten, it's nuts, and if it's not nuts, it's celery. Why don't people try some more original allergies? Like Peru, or insouciance, or shekels. And talking of Benjamin Netanyahu, see you next time, and remember, keep it light.
If you've been affected by any of the issues in this programme, remember that the Trudy Lite Show is for educational purposes only and is not meant to be a substitute for the advice of a doctor or other medical professional.